The alarm was already screaming when I pulled into the driveway that night, tires crunching against the gravel, and my stomach dropped because I knew Ava was inside. She's 13, my niece, my responsibility since my sister passed, and all I could think was, please God, let her be okay. But what I saw made my blood boil in a way I didn't even know I was capable of. There was a woman, in a blazer and heels of all things, halfway through the bathroom window like some kind of raccoon caught in the act. Her name was Valerie Knox, vice president of our neighborhood's HOA, and she looked back at me wide-eyed, caught dead to rights, hands gripping the sill like maybe she could still talk her way out of it. Behind me, red and blue lights were bouncing off the hydrangeas, an officer barking, "Ma'am, step away from the property." And Valerie, oh, she had the nerve to smooth down her blazer and say, "I'm authorized to inspect violations. This house has been flagged." Like she wasn't just caught crawling into a kid's bathroom. I held up my phone, showed the frozen image of her sneaking under my security beam, and I said loud enough for the officer to hear, "This system logs every second to an off-site server, and you just tripped a trespass alert." Her lips tightened, but I could see it. She knew she was cornered. That night should have been the end of it. But you know how bullies are. They don't back off just because they're caught. They double down. And Valerie wasn't just any bully. She was the type that hides behind paperwork and fines, pretending it's about community standards. She'd already hit us 3 times in a month. Once for Ava's little inflatable pool, once for trash bins left out 40 minutes too long, and once for the bench on my porch. That bench was the last thing Ava's dad ever built before he died. Hand-carved pine, worn smooth at the corners. They called it visual clutter. To me, it was family. After that trespass, neighbors started whispering to me their own stories. Fines for daisies planted too close to the curb. Threats over lawn color. A teenager nearly reported for riding a hoverboard on the sidewalk. People were scared, not of crime, not of strangers, scared of the woman who was supposed to be preserving the neighborhood. And yet, nobody had proof. Nobody wanted to stick their neck out. Except me. See, before all this, I'd done 6 months working cybersecurity for federal lockdown zones. I knew how to build systems, and I knew how to catch people who thought they were untouchable. So, I dug into the HOA's bylaws. 86 pages of legalese that Valerie was banking on no one ever reading. But I read every line. And what I found made my hands shake. No active insurance policy. None. Which meant every time she trespassed, every time she fined, every move she made, if anyone sued, the liability fell straight on her shoulders. That was the crack in her armor, but I still needed leverage. That's when Jordan showed up. He's the quiet board member, the type who used to teach chemistry at the high school, the kind who weeds his yard just because it looks better that way. Valerie had pulled him onto the board as a token of balance. But balance turns into silence real fast when someone like her is running the show. He looked me in the eye one evening and said, "If I give you something that proves she's done this before, can you protect me?" I told him, "You don't need me to protect you. The evidence will." A couple days later, he slid me a flash drive, and then later, this floored me. I caught him sneaking out of Valerie's place in the dead of night carrying her green binder. That binder turned out to be the Holy Grail. Receipts showing she'd used HOA funds, our dues, to pay for her own private lawyer. Not landscaping, not newsletters, legal bills to cover herself while she bullied us. Buried inside were memos where she expanded her own authority, pretending she could trespass if she suspected violations. It wasn't law. It wasn't policy. It was cosplay bureaucracy, dressed up to look legitimate. I compiled everything. Surveillance logs, emails, voice recordings. Yes, Jordan had those too. One clip had her saying, "Make him look paranoid. He lives alone with a kid." Push that narrative. That one stung. But it was also the nail in her coffin. I filed a complaint with the state, copied the Consumer Protection Bureau, and quietly built a digital archive with every document timestamped and cross-checked. But I didn't stop there. I printed 20 envelopes. Inside, a condensed timeline of Valerie's abuses, with a QR code leading to the evidence archive. One morning, I walked the whole loop of our subdivision, dropping them on porches, sliding them into mail slots. No speeches, no signatures, just evidence. By noon, the group chat was buzzing. Neighbors were posting screenshots of her reimbursements, matching them with her personal checks. For the first time, people weren't whispering, They were talking out loud. Valerie must have felt it, because she called an emergency community meeting at the clubhouse, her favorite stage. That night the room was packed, standing room only, and she strutted in wearing her navy blazer like armor, her little gold pin catching the light. She cleared her throat, tried to paint me as the problem, misinformation, digital harassment, all that nonsense. But halfway through I stood up. My voice was steady when I said, the documents are already in the hands of the State Oversight Committee. They include reimbursements for private legal work, recordings of unauthorized entry, and proof this board has been operating uninsured for months. You could have heard a pin drop. Valerie froze, and I placed that binder, her binder, on the table in front of me. Another copy at a second table. Jordan stepped out from the back with a third. That was the moment the room turned. Neighbors stood up. Mr. Lansing, an older man she'd accused of drainage violations, shouted, "She trespassed on my property too." A mom added, "She fined me for a chipped gate latch." Another, "You told me my kid's trampoline was a crime." The tide broke right there, voices rising, eyes on her. She tried to shout, "This is personal," but I cut her off. It is personal when you crawl through a 13-year-old girl's bathroom window. That hit her like a punch. By the end of that week, 32 households had signed a petition to remove her. The Oversight Committee launched a formal audit. The insurance company declared the board personally liable, and one by one her allies resigned. Roger quit with a sad letter. Nancy taped an apology to her door. By Saturday, Valerie was alone. Sunday evening, we held a community assembly. Jordan spoke first, calm and direct, outlining reforms, term limits, transparency clauses, votes for every action. Then I stood and detailed the petition and the state's involvement. At 6:37, Valerie walked in. No blazer, no pin, just a plain envelope. She set it on the table and said, "I resign." Effective immediately. No applause followed. Just silence. The kind that feels like an exhale after years of holding your breath. The next morning, I sat on that pine bench with a coffee in hand. For once, there was no siren, no trespass alert, no newsletter thread in my mailbox. Ava came out later with her sketchbook, drawing that same bench, leaves swirling above it. She didn't even look up when she whispered, "She's gone." I nodded. She won't be coming back. And for the first time, it felt like home again. Now, here's what I keep thinking about. Was it justice? Or was it just one more neighbor feud that got out of hand? Did we stand up for ourselves? Or did we just replace one kind of control with another? I've got my answer, but I want to hear yours. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Valerie just drunk on power, or was she trying to enforce order the wrong way? And if you've ever gone head-to-head with an HOA or a community bully, tell me your story. Because trust me, someone out there needs to know they're not fighting alone.